Hey, thanks for watching today. One of the things that our church feels pretty strongly about is just talking about topics that are relevant. And a topic that certainly is relevant always, but especially at the holidays, is that of grief. And so our video today is really part one of two videos on the topic of grief. Grief is really an interesting companion. And nowhere have I ever read that you can escape it. And the truth is that when it knocks at your door, you have no choice but to go through it. Well, maybe I should rephrase that, because you can choose not to go through it. But experience tells me that if you avoid it, it'll only lead to greater pain and suffering down the road. So there's this really familiar, lighthearted story. It's called The Bear Hunt. Maybe you've heard it, maybe you've read it. In the story, this family embarks on this exciting venture, and the venture is they want to find a bear. But along the way, as they're looking for the bear, they experience all kinds of troubling and difficult things. A mudslide, a snowstorm, a forest. And as they're going through all of these difficult things, the storyline goes like this. Can't go over it, can't go around it, can't go under it, guess I'll go through it. And then eventually they get to this bear and they meet this big, huge bear. Well, the thing is, the bear hunt is fun. The story is fun and you laugh and you giggle with your kids or your grandkids. But the reality is, grief isn't fun. And yet, it's a lot like this classic kids story because you can't go around it, you can't go over it, you can't go under it, you have to go through it. And recently for me, I lost my 84-year-old mom. And to be really honest with you, the grief and the sadness that I experienced really took me by surprise. Because for months I've been asking God to deliver my mom from all of the things that Parkinson's disease were doing on her body. And while she'd had Parkinson's for about 10 years, she had begun to have a lot of complications the last year prior to her passing. And in the thick of COVID, when care centers and hospitals demanded really that she had to be isolated, my husband and I decided to take her in for a season, and we helped with her care. And it was really, really hard, but it was also really, really special. And becoming a caretaker for a short time really taught me a lot. And it became evident then, after a little while, that we were no longer going to be able to take care of her due to all the progression of the disease. And at that time, my prayers started ramping up. Whereas I'd been asking God on a regular basis, God, would you just deliver her? Would you take her home? When she got to be so bad in that past year before her death, I was daily saying, God, please deliver my mom. Please, just take her home. And then she passed. And she passed, and I found myself asking God, why is it so hard to say goodbye? Why am I feeling so sad? Why does my heart feel so broken? Because we wanted this for her. And she was ready as well. Her faith in Jesus, well, it was pretty amazing. It was unwavering. In fact, she'd even told me just a few weeks prior to her death, when I said to her, Mom, I've been praying that the Lord would deliver you from this. And she said to me, looked at me in the eyes and said, Julie, I'm praying that too. I'm not afraid to die. I'm afraid of what I'm becoming. And so she passes, and I sat with my journal just a few days after she passed away, and I wrote this. I wrote, I would much rather feel the sadness of losing someone having loved them so deeply than to feel no feelings at all. The pain and the sorrow, it's deep and it's profound. But I'm glad it's deep and profound, because in it you sense not only the great, great sorrow that God had when he gave his one and only son, but in it you also recognize the immense gift that God gave us by putting a heart in each one of us that not only beats and pumps blood to all our vital organs, but also has this immense ability to feel and to hurt and to care. And so I'm embracing the sadness, and I'm embracing the grief. Because you see, I've seen way too many times where Christians put on this brave, happy face, and where they tell themselves they can't or they shouldn't feel sadness. Friends say, oh, your loved one's in a better place. Or they say, you're so strong. Your faith will sustain you. And while this may be true, well, their well-meaning words really, they don't bring any comfort at all. But that's okay. That's really okay, because people just don't know what to say and they don't know what to do. And so for the next holiday season, I'm not going to pretend that I don't miss my mom. And I want to encourage those of you who are listening, those of you who've lost loved ones, I want to encourage you to grieve and to grieve well. To find joy in the special memories from years past, to find people who are willing to listen to the stories and who know how to just listen and not feel like they have to say anything at all. And I'm going to find comfort in familiar Christmas carols and traditions that I know my mom enjoyed, because she enjoyed a lot of Christmas carols. And I'm going to ask those around me who are grieving to share some of the special memories and the traditions from their loved ones as well, because that really is one of the healing pathways through grief. And for me, I'm going to also embrace the comfort of knowing that the Lord is by my side. And I know there'll be tears, and I want to say this to all of you who are listening to this, who might share it with somebody, whether you're male or female. Be okay with tears. Be okay with that. Because Scripture tells us to everything there's a season. There's a time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance. And this Christmas, I may have a few more tears. And if you've lost somebody in the distant past, you may have a few more tears too, and it's okay. So find a friend. If you're here with me, find me, get a hug, ask for prayer, and be that for somebody this holiday season. Because here's the deal, and I'll say it again. Grief. You can't go over it. Can't go around it, you can't go under it, you have to go straight through it. And just because it's Christmas, just because it's this season of glad tidings and great joy, well, that doesn't mean that it's going to go away. However, I pray that you'll find peace in the message of Christmas. I pray that you'll find peace in the one who came as a child to bring us light and hope, and to bear our grief, and to carry our sorrows.